Hello and welcome to this quick restitution of the Earth System Fresco. This one is intended for people who just did the workshop and who would like to have some really quick insight on how the things should be connected together. So before you just go further, remember, this is the ideal restitution. It's what it was originally intended to be. You can have slightly different restitutions as long as your the way of telling whatever the fresco is and the chaining of events and cards is coherent to you. Also, this is even worse if you think about arrows and connecting all the cards. You can put literally way more arrows or way less arrows depending on what you're seeing. Single-ended arrows, double-ended arrows. You can put some feedback loops, positive, retroactive feedback loops, whatever. And of course, the labels I'm going to add around the card, grouping them, etc., should be your own labels. Don't worry about mine or whoever uses the label. It should be what you and your group decided that was the most important to name, and you can group the cards just like you feel like they should be grouped. There's no obligation to do it exactly the same way as this video will show you, alright? So first of all, we start from something. We start from the universe. What we call the universe. We don't really know where it started, what it was, but what we know is studying this is what we call fundamental science, fundamental knowledge and research, and the universe was always here, and at some point it just went larger and colder, what we call the Big Bang, which is a theory that we call the prevalent theory in cosmology right now, and it seems to be a consensual one. But this explains what we have at disposal right now. So we observe the universe and we have deduced the current particle physics, which at least give us whatever is matter and whatever is energy. So we're trying to define them, and we go define what matter is, what it comes from, and from matter we have what we call a very special way of calling matter. The nucleosynthesis and baryogenesis gave us the baryons, and the baryons, protons, neutrons, and also adding electrons to that gives us more or less whatever is interesting to us on Earth at the moment when it comes to matter. And of course, we try to understand the universe as much as we can from day to day, and we learn a lot of things, and we deduce the laws and principles of physics, and we try to understand them, like thermodynamics and stuff. Which means we are very, very conscious that there are limits to what we call the anthroposphere, which is whatever place, location, space, and time we evolve into. This is limited into direction, first of all, into speed, into energy, into matter at disposal. We don't have an unlimited amount of resources at disposal. We are limited towards space, we are limited towards going down the planet. Now, the planet is only 6,400 kilometers radius wide, so we cannot go further than this, okay? So thanks to that, matter just coalesced and into something larger, like astronomical objects. And some of these objects are planet like Earth, which was created 4.5 billion years ago, and the Sun was created slightly a few million years just before the Earth. And because Earth is a star, it's very active, it's sending a lot of energy around in the form of light, and part of it is hitting Earth. So it's actually giving activity. Energy is mixing, changing the systems. You add energy into a system that comes from the outside, and the system is reacting to this energy. So all the atoms went up together and started to create some larger molecules, larger and larger, up to what we call a polymerization. And of course, at the same time, meaning we're talking about simple molecules, H2O, water, appeared on Earth. We don't really know how it happened. We have several theories that are trying to be solved at the moment, but it's fine. And then from that, we have from astrophysics what we call the biosphere, usually what I group into the biosphere. So first of all, it's just went up so large into molecules that at some point they become more complex molecules. So life appeared on Earth, and from life appeared life cycles, and life cycles gave birth to newer and newer entities that are alive, and at some point that creates biotic resources like trees, mushrooms, like algae, etc. And of course, at the same time, because part of this life went to the oceans and uses calcium and carbon and stuff, it just sedimented. So we had the appearance of sediments and fossil at some point went down the bottom of the ocean, and thanks to the tectonics, we have oil on mostly ocean and coal mostly on surface and ground origins, like those plants that about 4 million years ago just sedimented because nothing could digest them and transform them into something else. And when you bury all those things, it also gives fossil gas. But life on Earth also gave an appearance of the first organisms, right? But thanks to that, we also had biodiversity and natural selection, which means everything is adapting to the previously valuable resources. So it's actually very fragile, because most of the living things on Earth right now are very depending one on another. And of course, at some point, we appeared. I mean, something appeared that was previously whatever was not man but close to man, homo something, homo, up to a point it was homo sapiens, which is what we are. And of course, as we exist, we have used our brain, developed our neocortex, we became conscious, and we have started to do something on Earth that is not exactly just pulling straight molecules out of the ground, but also tools and things like we found on the ground, which is where everything started for us to be the difference. At some point, we can say that also because of the fact that the nature of nucleons, we had nuclear energy. So nuclear energy is a very particular thing. It's also a way to get energy that also is not created. Remember, it's just transformed from something that is not coming from electrons, but rather from protons and neutrons themselves, the nucleus. So in the end, we can just classify resources into 4 groups. The resources that are, first of all, irreversible and lost forever, or let's just say forever until something else. Like we can still make matter that we just make fissile again, but when we use uranium, it's just basically done, so it's gone. And if you send something to space, it's just lost forever until it comes back to Earth. Then you have resources that are really too low renewable. Remember, we use, for example, oil. We use 97 million barrels of 159 liters per year, and barely the planet just barely makes like a couple liters of oil per year. So these resources, we just exhausted them in 200 years, for example, and they were created in millions, if not hundreds of millions of years. So not renewable fast enough. Also, we have highly renewable fast enough, like biotic resources, everything that comes from the living on Earth, and also we have things that are constant resources, like basically sun, which is accounting from 99.99% of energy radiated on Earth. And sun gives wind, and we have also like gravity coming from Earth itself, geothermal energy, which comes from the heat radiated from the inner mantle of Earth, etc. All right, and then, because we are human, we try to build something with what was our economy and our society. So we build economics, and we build societies, if not a major meta-society of humanity. And because we've suddenly found those 4 sources of energy, which count for something like slightly under 90% of the energy mix today, we have abundant energy concentrations. All of this energy are very, very easy to find and very easy to use, and they have a lot of energy concentrated in very little matter. So because of that, also we have a problem. These resources are completely lowly renewable, but we're not aware of that right now. So what we do is just use abundant energy concentrations, and that gave us those things called thermo-industrial revolution. And it gives us so much power, so much feeling that we were indestructible, that we even wrote really weird economic theories about that, including the fact that we should have an infinity-based economy. But at the same time, we just also have technical progress and scientific progress coming from whatever we have as activities. We try to survive, and by surviving, we learned, we go to school, and we learn more and more about ourselves and, remember, the universe. So scientific progress gave us improvement of life and uses, and at the moment, as a result, this just gave a huge population increase, especially exponentially over the very last years that we're living right now. And progress in general just gave us also rebound effects. Rebound effects are very harmful. It's just when we bring something to everyone that facilitates their lives, we just tend to use it more and more and more than we used not to. And because all of that, we're just increasing dramatically our ecological footprint, which is going way, way beyond whatever the Earth is able to give us. Which is why there is what we call durability. And we start worrying about generating activities and, let's just say, stuff, entities that are appearing on Earth, but nothing on Earth is able to handle them. Therefore, it's just normal. Earth has always been polluted. But the thing is, right now, it shouldn't be polluted by us at this rate. So we have two things. Things that are supposed to be durable, but durability is not that easy to explain. At some point, if you just use things that are not really renewable, which is whatever the human activities are today, they are too weakly durable, which is they are consuming resources that will not regenerate anytime or not fast enough. So we're going towards a problem with that. We should be instead going for strong durability, because when you think strong durability, you know that the physics are dominating. There's no way to go beyond the physics. Otherwise, it would be physics too, by the way. So we just cannot go beyond strong durability, and we should have something inscribed, something inside the ecosphere that should be our human and social sphere. And inside of this, we should have maybe a way to make everything work all together and do what we call economy and circulations of flux of streams of goods and services. That should be aimed at a strong durability if it is contained into whatever the Earth, our system as a whole, is able to give us. So the problem is right now we're going to what with durability. So here you have the 9 planetary boundaries of a Rockstrom model. You have the climate change, the disintegration of biosphere, of geochemical cycles, biogeochemical cycles. Sorry. You have the disruption of land use, the depletion of freshwater uses, the new polluting entities, the regression of the atmospheric ozone layer, ocean acidification, and the concentration of atmospheric aerosols. And those 9 limits are more or less going toward a red flag for us. Some are already completely broken and some are on their way to being broken. So whatever we do today is, in a matter or not, exceeding biocapacity. So we're going to use more than the planet is able to give us on a given period. If you take a year, we use the Earth Day, where we consume more than one Earth. Right now it was mid-July and it's going to be earlier and earlier as time goes, and this is a problem. This is going to just explode on our feet at some point. So because we're exceeding biocapacity, we are decreasing viability on Earth, as you saw. We are also generating a lot of pollution in a general sense of what we call pollution, what I just explained. But also we have a strong dependency mesh with everything we do. All the activities, the human activities here, are going through this cycle of weak durability, and they are just building a dependency mesh that is very strong. All the energy sources that we have here, all the matters and the tens and tens of chemical elements that come from matter are actually very intertwined, and they are used all together to be together to replace one another, etc., etc., etc. We're using more and more of them in quantity, in quality, and this is going to be a problem. Because it's going to be a problem, we're going to have a mine depletion at some point. So you think if you don't want to have a mine depletion, which means you cannot push extractivism down to a very, very dangerous limit, you should be recycling, but not everything is easy to recycle, and recycling is not that easy to understand. There is a theoretical limit in recycling, and it's also going to be a limit that is going down. It's not that easy to admit, but it is the case. And all of this together, when you think about this, is also seen through the prism of complex system dynamics, which is a particular domain in science, which is about modelizing everything, which is basically what lots of people are trying to do right now, and all of these are actually very complex systems by their own. But the Earth system as a whole is even more complex to understand, because everything is a mesh and everything is linked together. Whatever we do, we are going to destabilize the human basis of what we call a good way to be living, what we call a good way to be alive, happiness, and a sane planet all together. But when you're not talking only about pollution, you should be talking also about reaching whatever is the end here. So you're facing a very social, global social choice. You have to go towards the growth, which is you're going to lose. We're going to lose a lot of what we think today that we're going to have forever and ever. That is not the case. Lots of things that we do today are going to expire, and it's going to happen all of a sudden. So either you choose to put a mattress on your fall and you don't lose everything at the same time, and you go towards degrowth, which is a really complex mental change of mind. So you have to review everything so that you get more towards strong durability than you go towards weak durability. And if you don't do that, we're going to have the same result. It's not a choice anyway. It's just the only choice is what we do, if it's decided or if we just go for it without being conscious of it. So the other way to go for that is to fall under the civilizational collapse. And the problem is, if you just go to a civilizational collapse, you're going to have a strong decrease in human survival, you're going to have shortages, and it's going, I hope not, but there's a chance that it could be, going towards withdrawal, conflicts, and wars. We know that civilizational collapse is possible since the modelization mostly of the Club of Rome that just ordered to some researchers from the MIT Institute a report that is called The Limits to Growth in 1972, exactly 50 years ago at the moment of this video. And this report shows us that it is exceptionally accurate when it comes to telling what the future is going to be, almost 50 years ahead already. And it says there will be a civilizational collapse if we keep doing what we do. On the other side, building degrowth is really complex. So first of all, your goal should be the resilience of humanity. It should be a way for humanity to say, all right, we're going to take hits, but we're going to recover. We are building our society, our whole society, everything we do, in a way that we know it's going to fall, we know it can fail, but when it fails, we know what to do. And also, this should be the opposite of decreasing viability on Earth. It should be the regeneration of the living, because remember, not everything is eternal. Even if we break everything on the planet will still live, will still be the same size, and life will come back very, very fast with or without us. Also, we are human, we have different organizations, and if everything goes well, there's no secret, geopolitical stabilization and all the humans on Earth are going to be living all together much, much better. And for that, we need to go for something that we call territorial structural reorganization. If you do that, you know that we're not going to have a whole world at disposal. You know, you're not going to be able to travel to use resources from the other side of the planet. So you're going to have to go small, go very efficient, and go local. And this is what we call territorial structural reorganization, because you don't know what size your territory will be. All of this, in the end, should be, just trying to cope with whatever the universe gave us, which is reversing the Earth balance into something sane and durable. That is our purpose, our goal. We just want to stop breaking everything. We have lived through a magical, enchanted, mesmerizing parenthesis of 200 years, something like that, since the thermo-industrial revolution, and we are now aware that it's going to fall at some point. So we're trying to go back to whatever it was before, but keeping the progress and everything we learned all together, we should have a chance, not a lot, but have a chance to build a better society. And this is what this workshop was about. If you just wonder why the cars are colored like that, you can think of adding some more labels to that. So you can put all these cards like here at the beginning and the end of all, the first one and the last one. You can have whatever is astrophysics here. You can have whatever concerns the living here. You can have the dynamic of complex systems here, which is thinking in terms of streams of flux and not even of stocks and finite resources. You can also think about fundamental physics here, and you can also think about what human centric is, being more centered on what human is doing. You have the famous 9 planetary boundaries, which are the core of this workshop when it comes to the analysis, and also you have lots of things you would like to avoid. And all this creates a matter for you and probably for the rest of your lives, which is we need to decide and act all together. But how, when, and what? And this is going to be very complex and require all of you to know and share at least this workshop or anything you think is useful to society to make everyone be aware of what is happening. Thank you. That's what I wanted to call a quick restitution of the fresco.